You can start anew at any given moment. Life is just a passage of time, and it's up to you to pass it as you please. Charlotte Erickson. Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Misadventures of the Mind podcast, hosted by me. It is I, yet again. No other person like myself. You won't find them anywhere, no matter how hard you try. Hi, my name is Alyeska Lake Nadal. I'm your clinical child and adolescent psychologist. I'm the host of this podcast. Hopefully very soon my voice will be accompanied by someone else. But until then, you just gotta stick with me. We've been going good, we've been going smoothly. I feel like there's only one way to handle this situation, and it's by going deeper in it. It has to flourish, which means that it needs watering, it needs nurturing, it needs love and compassion. But that's not the topic of today. The meat and the essence of today's episode is actually one that I'm skeptical. I don't know if I would say skeptical, but it's more so I'm being very cautious of my word choices, just because it is something that I know a lot of us deal with. Not a lot of you, but a lot of us, as I'm also a part of the demographic that I talk about. I take things from my own perspective, I take things from my own experiences in life, and I feel like that also makes these conversations with you, my fellow and loyal listener, very intimate. And it's a cute little conversation that we get to have every now and again. But without further ado, the misadventure of the mind that we're talking about today is one that convinces you that you need to do something lavish or extravagant before the end of the year. We're going into, or actually we're inching towards the end of the year. Today is currently the 18th of December, so we officially have 13 days left. That's less than 2 weeks. I don't know about you, but I'm actually kind of excited for 2024. Not because my 2023 was bad, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But I am actually excited for 2024. I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I would love to hear your perspective on the time that you've spent in this year, But yes, as I said, the misadventure of the mind of today's episode is about the misadventure that convinces you that you need to do something grandiose before the year ends. And actually, this is something pretty common. I feel like most of us, if not all of us, have this thing inside of our head where we have like an internal clock, and we feel like with each year we need to do something, we need to accomplish an X amount of things. Maybe we have a list of goals that we set the previous year and it didn't really work out, or it did work out and we wanted more. So we set deadlines for ourselves within a year, and at the end of the year we often are confronted with the fact that some of these goals, maybe all of them, were not really accomplished, and maybe not accomplished fully, but it could also be partially. And you can fill in the blank for yourself, but it is a common experience for certain people to have this end of year pressure. And how we like to do it on this podcast. We like to delve into terms, research phrases, research origins. So Today, I don't really have a term specifically, but it is a list, or not so much a list, but it is a compilation of certain end of year, let's say, shenanigans slash experiences that some, if not most people experience, usually typically in the last maybe 2 months of a year. So to start off this not so much list, we start with something I mentioned previously, and that is the end of year pressure. And that is, I feel like, also a compilation in and of itself, because there's the pressure of achieving the goals that you maybe have set at the beginning or at the end of the previous year. There's also the pressure of family gatherings or just social gatherings in general. This can be something that, you don't really look forward to, and that can make the end of year festivities a little bit more difficult for yourself. But there's also the self-inflicted pressure of trying to end a year well, to end a year in a way that you can feel that you did something good with your year. You can say, like, yeah, I had a great end of year, or I had not so much a good start of the year, but I did end it really well. And that is a pressure that is, of course, internal. There's no one who says, or there's nowhere that it is written that you should have an X amount of things completed in a year or by the end of the year. It's not always the case that you are important or you do matter based on a super large, grandiose thing that you did or goal that you accomplished. Usually it's in the little things, So there's this song by one of my favorite bands, Linkin Park. Shout out to them. They've been a part of my life for maybe, I'd say, over a decade. And if you don't know them, just wow. But if you do know them, and I know you're probably not deep in the archives of Linkin Park, so this is a call to action, I would say. And it's really to listen to the song The Little Things Give You Away. It is on the slower end, so if you're not really a lo-fi, slow song listening type of person, try to broaden your horizons. Highlight actually how small actions can lead to something much bigger than what you initially thought was going to happen. And you're probably thinking, why would I ever listen to this song? Well, first of all, it's Linkin Park, so that's, without saying. It's a good song. It's just really meaningful, and I feel like there shouldn't be any other reason, so just do it. And if you don't do it, that's also fine. No peer pressure here. Yeah, the topic of today, as I said, it's about your mind telling you that you should do something large. You should be busy with something lavish, something out of your comfort zone even, to end the year, quote unquote, in a right way. And that is the reason why I actually titled this episode as The Winter Deception. Now, I'm a psychologist. I know you know that I'm a psychologist, but the title of this podcast episode is The Winter Deception, and not to be mistaken with the winter depression, which may or may not go hand in hand, but that is something to determine for yourself. But it is the winter deception because it is something that many people may struggle with, that internal pressure, and it is and can be something that is deceiving. Now, maybe we do still end up talking about terms. Here I am trying to encourage the use of the dictionary yet again. So we're actually gonna take a pause right here and talk about what it means to be deceived, but also the term deception. So, if you'd like to turn with me to our good friend of the pod, Merriam-Webster or Oxford, doesn't really matter. A simple Google search will also be acceptable, but the term of deception, according to Merriam-Webster, is as followed: the act of causing someone to accept as true or valid what is false or invalid. I'm going to read that again, maybe a little bit slower. So, deception is the act of causing someone to accept as true or valid what is false or invalid. Or in simple terms, the fact or condition of being deceived. But then there's also the term of deceive. What does it mean to deceive? Which in this case has the exact same definition of deception: to cause to accept as true or valid what is false or invalid. So if we have a quote unquote winter deception, as quoted by me, we can assume that we're talking about a concept or a thought process, an idea that makes us believe that we should feel this pressure, that we should feel the desire to accomplish or complete something that we've been working on in a very grandiose way, or that we should end a year in a good way to feel like the year has been good, when in fact you could have had one good day in like March and it still would have been a good year. But year reflection, we're gonna come back to that in a second. But to continue, there are of course other things that people may feel during a winter deception period, the end of year. Some common feelings, which is, no, it's definitely valid. However, the reason for it coming up or being triggered by these factors or feelings is something to definitely question yourself about. Urgency, is it in your head or is it based on reality? Is there evidence behind the necessity and desire of having to complete this task? So these are all important questions, because you might be trying to run after a goal that maybe takes a longer time. However, because you're so stuck on the sense of urgency and the feeling that, oh, it's the end of the year and I still haven't done X, Y, and Z, that you then push yourself to your own physical limit, or maybe even your mental and emotional limit, and that would cause more harm than good. But that is a question that you need to ask yourself. I don't really have the answer for you, but you can see where I'm going with this. So ask yourself the tough questions. We're a podcast about conversations about everything. But to continue, we have the sense of expectation of not just yourself, but perhaps family members that, or even your employer or friends that asks something of you, and you feel like if you don't have it done by the end of the year, or that you maybe took too long doing it, again, fill in the blank here, that you might be letting them down in one way or another. So it's a tricky situation, because in your mind, I committed to this. and you know that this person is relying on you and counting on you, yet you haven't completed it to maybe their satisfaction, or you haven't even started it, or you're still busy with it, and you feel like if the year ends before you complete it, you'll feel like a failure. You'll feel like maybe they should not have relied on me. You start to second guess yourself. You start to question your own abilities, maybe your own skills, the purpose and the drive that you maybe started with starts to dwindle, and that can take an emotional and mental toll. So it is beneficial as well to maybe sit down with this person and talk about the expectation that they had for you, or you feel like they have for you. Because sometimes, and this is also a misadventure of my mind, where I think or I feel like people expect certain things of me, and if I don't complete it, or if I don't, let's say, have it done at a certain point, or I feel like it's unsatisfactory by my own standards, by no means, I feel like I might be letting the other person down, when in fact they just wanted like the most basic thing ever. Like, I can give an example of like, if someone asked me to draw or create like an image or like a poster or something, because I also do graphic design, and they have their ideas, they tell me this is it, this is the occasion that it's for, this is when it's supposed to be done, and then I start doing it. I did it, I sketched it out, and then I decide, this is not the one. So I scrap the entire idea, because I feel in my mind the other person is expecting some, like, I don't know, Banksy type stuff, or some, Michelangelo type stuff, when in fact they just want like Microsoft Paint. And I'm trying to give them the Sistine Chapel. Like, yeah, it's, your mind is a tricky thing. Don't let it fool you, though. Don't let it deceive you. It happens, but, we're working on it. So you can also work on it. But, that example is just a way to show how it's also important to have conversations about expectations from yourself, but also from a person who you're working with or who you're talking to, for example. But we shall continue. There's also a very tricky and maybe very complicated emotion that we often feel as well at the end of the year, and that might be loneliness and isolation. It's safe to say that we've all experienced a form of isolation or loneliness, and that can be self-inflicted isolation, but it can also be that you're kind of outcasted, that maybe not intentionally so to cause you harm, but more so, for example, if you're living abroad and your family and immediate friends, they don't live anywhere near you, and for you to catch a flight, it's more expensive than just, thugging it out and staying where you are. With this feeling, with this type of situation, it's very difficult and almost complicated to get out of it, because as the title of this podcast suggests, it is a deceiving factor. So you might feel the isolation and the loneliness at a heightened rate, and that can also cause you to fall into a spiral of negative feelings and emotions. So it is also very important, and this is the psychologist in me kind of like coming out right now, because I know you've experienced this once or twice. Maybe you're currently experiencing this. I've experienced this. So just know that it is normal. It is a valid emotion. It is a valid feeling. What is also important to realize, though, is that it is not something that is absolute. So it's not final. It's not the defining factor or feeling of who you are. It is much like the winter and any other season. It's temporary. It's just a period. Maybe it can be very short, as are some feelings and some emotions, but it can also be very long. And if you're experiencing something like this, if you've experienced a longer period of an undesired emotion, take some time to maybe reflect on yourself. Take some time to maybe seek out a group. Could be a support group, could be an anime club, could be a basketball group, could be a reading club, any type of group or club that might share your interests. You could even take up a new hobby like pottery or sewing. So if you're experiencing this type of elongated loneliness or isolation or any other negative emotions, especially during the winter times, just try to take it one step at a time. One step is too much. Break it down even more. A baby learns to walk not by, getting up and starting to walk. They have to crawl first. So start crawling. Plan out your day. You'll wake up at a nice, reasonable time. You'll drink your water. Don't forget to hydrate. You'll take your vitamins because it's cold outside. You'll eat your breakfast to nourish your body. And then, you carry on with your day, whatever your day might look like. Sounds like a plan? Cool. Wonderful. Glad to help you. But I'm also helping myself. As I said, I'm talking to you, but I'm also talking to me. Okay, so for this section, this part of the episode is one that I've been alluding to. It's one that, I dropped some hints here and there. If you were paying close attention, maybe you might have caught on. If you didn't, though, it's also fine because I'm not really a clear, concise type of thinker. So, when my thoughts are also coming out, it's less than clear and concise. So if you've been lost, I'm going to try to reel it back in. But this section is where I'd like to challenge you to reflect on your year. And, this reflection is not so much on, oh, it's been a good year or it's been a bad year, but really sit down, maybe take a 10-20 minute break, moment of, peace and quiet to go through the year. If you're a person who loves taking like pictures and videos, or you're a person who's more, let's say, less visual, maybe you wrote stuff down or you had like a calendar with all of your activities, and take the time to really go through it, month for month. What did you do in January? What did you do in February? What did you do in March? And then also take time to reflect maybe on goals that you set at the beginning of the year or at the end of the previous year, and see whether or not you've achieved them. And if you didn't achieve them, it's fine. This is your message. This is your encourager, your reminder that it's okay. It's okay if your goal of getting your summer body didn't work out. Summer comes every year, usually. Depends where you live, of course. And if you're lucky enough to live on an island or somewhere where it's always sunny, then that's even better for you, because then you can start tomorrow and you'll, in 3 months time you'll have your summer body. Just reflect on what you did, what you didn't do, why did you do them, how did you get to do them, and if you didn't get to do certain things, same questions: why didn't it work out? What could you do today, not next year, today, to get closer to achieving that goal or that plan? It could also be a fun little exercise for yourself to go back a couple notches, to go back a couple of years and reflect on maybe certain goals that you wanted to achieve or certain things that you wanted to see in your life, and really sit down and reflect on those things. Because I actually did it a couple of, I think it was maybe like a week or so ago. Could be more, could be less days, I'm not really sure. But the point is, I did it, and I didn't even do it like consciously. It was more so a subconscious thing, because I was updating my 1 line a day journal. Shout out to one of my best friends, Zoe G. She got me this, like, I think it was probably 2 years ago, and certain dates came back. And if you're not familiar, so let me backtrack actually, give you some context. So the 1 line a day journal is literally just 1 line a day. So there's 365 pages for each day of the year, and it's a 5-year journal. So there's literally January 1st up until the 31st of December. And every day, if you did something that's worth writing about, of course, or even if it's something small, you write it in the journal with the appointed date. So, for example, I had a passage. Wait, let me look for it, because I thought it was just really cool. Okay, so there's a passage that I wrote on my birthday, low-key the best day of the year. Don't at me, because I'll fight you, because it really is. Anyways, on my birthday, so in 2022, on my birthday, I went out. I spent the whole day in a city that I don't live in, and I went to a game lounge. I took out Polaroid photos, because I got a new Polaroid camera, so I was really excited about that. I ate really good food. I also have that I got flowers. And then this year for my birthday, it was completely different, because I was not in the Netherlands. I was in Aruba, and I was up, I think maybe at 7 a.m., maybe even earlier. I was on the radio with one of my close friends. Shout out to him, Leonardo. And we just caught up on the radio, but also after, because of course. So on my birthday, so I was up really early, went for a morning swim at the beach near my house. It's literally like 5 minutes away. Love living on an island, bro. Like, if you're not an island person and you didn't grow up on an island, I highly suggest maybe taking a trip and staying there and living like a local for at least a month. It's the best thing ever. But anyways, we continue. So then later in the day, after my morning swim, I had breakfast with my grandma. Love her to death. Like, she was there since my birth. And still looking cute as ever to this day. So shout out to her. Had food, of course, later in the day. And then I had a karaoke / bowling party with my friends. And that was my friends and my parents, actually. Shout out to them as well, because my parents are really cool. And I'm lucky enough to say that. So, I'm one of those kids that actually loves doing things with their parents. Certain things, not everything. Calm down. But yeah, so I just had a really fun day. But I'm a person that also loves my birthday. So, something like the best day of the year is always going to be fun for me. So, with that, it's really a fun, yeah, just an interesting experience to see what your year used to look like throughout the years. So I also challenge you and encourage you to maybe get one of these journals, or you can create your own type of one line a day journal, and just have like each day you don't have to write like a full Bible passage or anything. Like, I'm not saying, you got to become a novelist or an author, but if that is your calling, go for it. You deserve it. Do it. Love that for you. But no, just write one sentence. You can make it as simple as went to the park in insert city that you've never been to before. And that's also okay. So yeah, that is my challenge for you. Another thing that I actually want to share is a memory that I got. You know those snap memories, if you have Snapchat? They always creep up on you. Usually it's the most embarrassing, cringeworthy thing. But this one was actually kind of cute, and I'm actually gonna share it with you guys. And it is about the first day that I recorded my voice. I don't know. No, that sounds kind of weird. But it's the first time that my voice was live on air for not just my family and friends, but for the community of Aruba. And like I said previously, I have a close friend, Leo. He is a radio host. Amongst other things, he's literally just an artist through and through, does everything. But, one of his many job titles is radio host. Without me rambling too much, 2 years ago was the first time that I was on air, because I was asked to talk about, mental health and different mental health topics. So this was me talking about my experience after the show.
Hi, hello. I'm currently in the bathroom. But my segment was so good. Like, I was nervous. Like, y'all be knowing how I be. But it went really well, and I'm so excited. If you didn't catch it this week, that's okay. I'm gonna be on next week and the week after that and the week after that. Every Thursday, 7:30 a.m. Very early, I know. 7:30, 7:40 a.m. Aruba time. And if you're international, NL, that's 12:30. If you're in Canada, Toronto, that's 8:30 or 6:30. I don't know. However, how much hours ahead or behind Canada is. And yeah.
So as you can hear, that's literally baby voice Ali right now, fresh out of the recording booth studio, and clearly like I've just been a goof. And also the catchphrase hi hello, trademarking it immediately. But yeah, so it was just really nice that Snap would remind me of this very wholesome, very cute day. And this was, well, unfortunately I'm like 2 days late, but this was recorded on December 16th 2021. So that's exactly 2 years ago. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at me, this is growth. This is what we want to see. This is what we talk about. This is what we manifest every single day. Growth. Love to see it. Love her to death. So, it also gave me like a boost and encouraged me to keep going no matter how uncertain or how difficult it might be. Just keep going, because you never know where you'll end up, but also you'll never know how beautiful the journey will be. And, as I look back on it, and, it was a journey, going from never being on a radio type or podcast type of thing to then recording it, hosting it, co-hosting it, and then later on hosting my very own podcast. Like, that's just crazy. It's a dream, and I'm living the dream. Honestly, truthfully, I'm just living the dream. So I encourage you to also think about the things that you may have manifested or may want to manifest starting today. Don't wait until the next year or the next Monday or the next whatever. Start today. There's no reason why you shouldn't start today. So we're reaching the end of this episode. Again, I've been talking for a minute. And if you've made it this far, you're welcome. You're welcome for blessing your ears yet again. But, before we get into the affirmation segment of this episode, I do want to encourage you to still think about the things that you want to achieve and the things that you want to plan for 2024. It may have been a tough year, and it may have been a year filled with many unexpected twists and turns, and perhaps it's been the best year of your life so far. That's good. Reflect on that. Ponder on that. The good, the bad, the ugly. That's what I say. Because everything that you experience, every passing day, there's a thing in there that is teaching you a lesson. It's either strengthening you because you already have the skill, or it's preparing you for what's to come and thus still strengthening you. So at the end of the day, you'll just be a stronger, better version of yourself. But it takes time. It takes patience. It takes, that's all. Time and patience. Trust the process. Trust that, you'll get through it. But yes, we are here. The affirmation. I know you've been waiting at least 30 minutes for this part, but we're here. So the affirmation that I have for you today is: time is on my side. I will do what I can and trust the process of my own pace. And of course, for my Bible readers out there, no te preocupes. I'm here for you. I got you. Today's Bible verse, you can find it in the front of your Bibles. We don't often go there, but we're going there today. It's Exodus 14:14, and the NIV version says, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." And that is all I have for you today. My fellow loyal listeners, thank you from the bottom of my heart once again for listening to another episode of the Misadventures of the Mind podcast. If you liked it, if you enjoyed the topic of today, if it is something that tickled your brain, let the people know. Let your followers know, let your families know, let your friends know. Share it, like it, subscribe to it, comment, send me, or not me, don't send no personal messages to me. Send a message to the Misadventures of the Mind podcast Instagram page. There's also a YouTube channel, so if you're on YouTube, you can check it out. It is only audio for now, but safe to say, if you like YouTube more than Spotify, then that's what you do. You just do what you do. And if you're a Spotify listener, you can also fill in the question that is found at the bottom of what you thought about the topic of this episode. If you're on TikTok, you can also find this podcast at motm.podcast. You get like cute behind the scenes looks of the making of the episodes. You get snippets. You can also share it. You can like it. You can comment, of course. You can expect a new episode every other week on Friday. Usually it drops in the morning, so by the time that you wake up and you know you have your water, you have your vitamins, your breakfast, it's already uploaded on Spotify and on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram and on TikTok. And with that, I hope to inform you again in the next episode. Okay, thanks, bye.